Hi, this is Tim at the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. Today, we're discussing a 2002 model launch from the earliest days of the de Bethune watch brand. This is the DB5, automatic winding with 3 hands with classically beautiful and simple style. This is the de Bethune for classicists, people who want fixed lugs, solid dials, and round cases. Step right up. As one of the earliest products of the company, it is very rare, as most of the early references are. Only a few examples were constructed. Depending on who you believe, somewhere between 15 and 21 examples of this watch were manufactured in white gold, as you see right here, and only 22 DB5s in total, so we are talking rarefied air. Own one of these and you'll never see another. The watch is nicely sized, as you can see, 42 millimeters in diameter. But despite being a fairly sizable watch at 42, it's actually quite short lug-to-lug at 47.4 millimeters, thin at 10.3 millimeters thick, and then it's got a nice modern broad 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. The nice thing about these DB1 style cases, and this is from the DB1 case family, is that they fit easily on a small wrist, and they also fit flat, easily sliding under a dress cuff. You can see my wrist is 16 centimeters in circumference, and these lugs are nowhere near the edge of my wrist, and I'm pulling the strap pretty tight. So I believe you could wear this watch on a wrist as small as 15 centimeters circumference and under any kind of a dress cuff. The strap's much newer than the watch, obviously. You can see this is the latest de Bethune with round scale alligator leather on the bottom, large rectangular symmetrical scales on the top, a very high quality and expensive strap with this combination of scales and leather, but a watch like this, worthy of it. The reason you'd have gator on the bottom of a strap is because it lasts longer than calf, so this will give longer service life. You can see it's medium blue, semi-gloss. We've got a edge that's been cut and then lacquered for refinement with a monotone stitch, curved spring bars, so there's no impediment to the motion of the strap against the side of the case. And then at de Bethune, generally the buckles match the character of the lugs. So here the lugs are fixed and conventional, and we have a very conventional pin buckle. The ogival, or bullet end lug tips, were a design that was first launched on the DB1 chronograph, the company's first product in 2002. And this element has stayed with the watches and the company through the years. Very few models have not featured some variant of this, but this is the original take. This watch is very similar to a DB1 chronograph, with the only real distinction being the movement, the dial, and the functionality. So you can see that the case here is a lovely white gold with a very subtle step to the lug profiles. You can see how they slightly diverge from the case band, and then a shallow domed bezel giving way to a lovely guilloche silver with blueprint style dial. So you can see we have 1, 2, 3 different guilloche patterns. This is reductive, not stamped. This is lathe-based guilloche. We have breguet hands and a counterweighted lancet-style seconds hand fired to turn them blue. And then we will turn the watch over. You can see we have this faceted crown with no branding, a longtime signature of de Bethune, not branding crowns, consistent with historical practice by the great watchmakers of the past. Now on the reverse side, you can see what started life as a Schild 2072 automatic. De Bethune kicked up the 17 standard jewel count to 20 here and exhaustively decorated all the parts. So you're looking at a watch that has Schild origins, but is very much de Bethune in its final execution. You can really see the snailing on the bridges and the width and brightness of those mirrored bevels. We have a completely custom rotor, which should be self-evident. We have engine turning in several sizes across the base plate. You'll note we have blued screws, and then across the bridge for the winding rotor, the winding bridge actually features snailing, whereas the lower bridges feature circular Côte de Genève. And we have a lovely spiral solarization on the ratchet wheel atop the barrel. Now, of course, this is from the early days of de Bethune, when it used customer calibers modified and elaborated for de Bethune watches. And just as brass movement Journe watches may not seem as opulent as solid gold movement Journe watches, those brass movements are worth more because of their rarity, and non-manufacturer caliber de Bethunes like this one are worth more and are more collectible because of their rarity. Now, the movement is a workman-like piece, 3 Hz beat rate, 20 joules, automatic winding. De Bethune claimed 36-hour power reserve on these, but a Schild 2072 has a 46-hour power reserve, so that might have been a typo on their part. I believe this is probably closer to 46. Taking a closer look at the movement, you can see that golden chaton jewel settings have been used, another nod to antiquity, and this is a heavily modified Schild caliber. It's not simply a recased customer caliber. It was all 30 meters water resistant back in the day, but please don't test the theory these days. It's just too valuable. Also, another nice and compelling feature of these early De Bethune watches is oftentimes the caseback engraving was executed manually, and you could see here that this is a completely freehand engraving of the company name. Also important, you could see that likewise the reference and the serial number down at the bottom have been freehand engraved. We have a maker's mark of a third party, so this is not a De Bethune made case. This was before they were making their own cases. And the display caseback. In general, De Bethune didn't start to use display casebacks until the DB12 calendar chronograph, so this right here is an extraordinary rarity and a very unusual early caseback aesthetic for a collectible vintage De Bethune timepiece. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.